Welcome to the podcast, Kill Complacency. Here we inspire intentional living by motivating others to handle hard better. And here's your host, Marty Hofmann.
Great episode here by Steve Montgomery, a good friend of mine. Where he's talking about parenting on this episode, intentional parenting. Steve actually, he raised my son-in-law, and he did a fabulous job of that. And so honestly, he did such a good job. I thought he'd be a great person to have on here in regards to parenting. So, what were some tips you could take away and learn from Steve in regards to parenting?
I really liked how he talked about just having structure in your kid's life. And he was just saying how people these days just want to be their kid's best friend, but how that's great, but how you really need to just have structure, and how just doing that will just really help the kid's well-being.
Yeah, something I'd piggyback on is the relationship aspect, not just the structure, but having that relationship with that kid goes a long ways when you have to have those hard conversations.
Yeah.
So listen to the end. What he does with his teenage boys to help them be intentional is really cool. So today I've got my brother, my spiritual brother, my friend, Steve Montgomery here with us. And I have Steve here because Steve is my daughter's father-in-law. And obviously my firstborn daughter, probably protective of, you would imagine.
Sure.
But Steve raised his second son, Micah, to be a good guy, godly guy, that was worthy of my trust. And so I wanted to interview Steve today as to somebody who's done a really good job of intentional parenting. So Steve, could you tell us more about you or parenting or what you did to raise such successful kids?
Yeah, that's a big task. So my wife and I, we have... Are you getting enough volume there? Okay. We have a total of 8 kids, and I'll start off. Our oldest is now 38. She's actually my wife's cousin that we adopted when she was 13. So we didn't jump into the infants, we jumped into the teenage female.
When we started.
So that was kind of an interesting start to being a parent, right? And it was also a scenario where she was coming from a troubled environment, so we had that on top of it. And I think really our story as a parent starts kind of there, because with her coming out of that troubled environment, one of the things that Katie and I did was we sat down and we said, okay, what are our expectations of her? Let's put down a list of our expectations so that she knows.
And you had to do that because she was a teenager, right?
Teenager, and from where she was coming from, because she was coming out of an environment where her dad had some alcoholism and drug abuse issues, was going into a facility, and really she didn't have a parent that was helping her, transition into teenagehood, right? So we knew that there was going to be some challenges. We just didn't know exactly what we were jumping into. And so we were thinking, okay, we need to have it pretty well lined out of, here's the expectations, this is what we're going to expect of you. So when she first came to our house, we sat down with her and kind of laid out, here's expectations. But what we also did is we said, now, before you feed back to us what this means to you, we want you to take a day or so, come up with your expectations for us. So that then then we can come to the table and say, okay, here's everybody's expectations. This is kind of what we're expecting of each other, and then move forward off of that. And what we realized was, after we did that, this was probably a year or so after she'd been living with us, she was able to be a kid again. Up until that time, she was being the adult.
Yeah.
And so we really recognize the importance of structure in a kid's life. I think one of the things we see in our world today is that everybody just wants to be their kid's buddy and friend, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a friend, but having structure and making sure that they know what kind of to expect in their world is really important, because it does allow them to thrive as a child.
Jocko Wellington has a book called Discipline Equals Freedom. And it what you're saying reminds me very much of that, because we don't like structure. We think structure is bad. Right. But when we have structure, it actually creates more mobility and less limitations.
It's actually more freedom.
Yes.
It really does, because your mind is then freed up to not be worried about, am I living inside of a certain framework, right? So we started off with that, and then a couple of years later was when Nathan was born. So now he's 22, and he I guess he's not 22 yet. He's 21. Will be 22 this summer. I'll roll up the dates. So then we get into our male sons.
How many males in a row?
So Nathan, Micah, Noah, Samuel, and Ezra.
5 in a row.
5 in a row. Yeah. So we know how to do boys, evidently. God was like, you're going to raise boys. And it definitely is different raising boys than a girl, as you very well know. But Nathan, he was pushing boundaries at a young age, and that's just kind of what boys want to do. They want to know kind of where to go. But one of the things that Katie and I really talked about was not pushing our kids into the world before they really need to be.
Yeah.
Because what we were seeing was the society and the school structure and everything else that's out there is all, well, they're going to have to face all these things at some point. You might as well just throw it at them. And we're like, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place that, yes, they are going to face some of these things, but they really need to have the maturity, and every child is going to be different on that level. You have to evaluate them individually, because one child, at 13, they may be able to be, take on something like this. The next one may be a couple years after that.
Don't you think you learn as a parent too? Like I know for us, we were probably overly strict on the first ones, and then we realized we could actually have more grace.
Yes.
And
I hear that from my older kids. Well, you would have never let us do that. And we're like, well, that's true.
And I come from 10,
right?
And I very much saw it with my parents,
right?
And I think as kids, you think mom and dad are lazy or whatever, and there might be a little bit of that, but I really do think it's us as parents growing into grace.
Yes.
And realizing, you know what, it's okay if Johnny does X, Y, Z. I don't have to be so hard on him.
Well, and on that, what I've also found is it's easier to start restricted and then ease up on the restrictions, because
communicate expectations.
Once the genie's out of the bottle, I have so many families that have come to me over the years and said, man, I look at your family and we've got this teenager that's really struggling, but we're trying to clamp it down.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that, because you've let the genie out of the bottle and now you're trying to put it back in the bottle. It's almost impossible to do.
Well, the only way you could do that would be to do what you did with
Christy, right?
Christy, and that would be to have a sit down and say, hey, you're a teenager, you're becoming more independent.
Yep.
Let's talk about this. These are expectations we have.
Yep.
What are your expectations for us?
Right.
And you could.
You could. That's about the only way, and even that is going to be challenging, because that requires that child to start making more mature decisions. Christy, I think, it was a relief for her to step back into childhood, because she already had seen being thrown to the wolves in the adulthood environment.
Well, and I think probably what you guys gave her was a relationship.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Prior to that, she didn't have that. And there was a line Ginger and I learned early on, and that was rules minus relationship equals rebellion.
Yep.
And I think that's a mistake parents make is, and you see it now so much with iPads and whatnot. They think they can raise their kid with a screen in front of them and they're good to go.
Yep.
And these kids want that relationship with mom and dad.
Right.
And you probably see it with your, well, you will see it more with your girl.
Yeah.
But girls really like to talk at night way more than guys.
Oh yeah.
And
well,
I know
I already see that. Going in and saying prayers with Ellie at night, she wants that. She wants that connection with me.
Yeah.
Not with mom. She's got a different connection with mom, but she wants me to come in to say prayers with her every night.
She wants that relationship.
Oh, and I'll tell you, we walk down the road, she wants to grab my hand. I'm holding that hand as long as she wants to hold that hand. So yes, it's a different relationship than I have with the boys.
But maintain that relationship,
right.
And you can have those conversations with Ellie.
That's right.
That are more difficult when she's 15, 16.
Exactly.
Becoming independent and struggling to find herself, her identity and where she fits.
Right. Right. Yeah, going back to the iPad and the screen thing, that was something that we were pretty strict on and still are. A lot of families jump into allowing their kids to watch PG-13s in their, 9, 10, 11, or even earlier. We're strict. I mean, I've got a 13-year-old son, Ezra. At 13, he just saw the first Avenger movie, which is probably of the Avenger movies is more of the cleanest, if you will, if you want to call it that. He's not seen Iron Man. You get some racy stuff into the Iron Man because we're trying to protect his heart and don't want to throw him to the wolves.
Yeah.
And Ezra is different than Samuel and Noah and Mike and Nathan, and so his heart is going to have some different aspects of it. So we really try to gauge, okay, where's this child in his heart right now?
That's good.
Because if we were to just do everybody exactly the same, it's not going to be fair because they're going to be at different maturity levels. And Ezra is an empath. That dude, I mean, the empathetic crier, yes.
Oh, okay.
Somebody gets injured, man, he's heartbroken for them. And so something visually like a movie, it's going to affect his heart a whole lot more than one of my other kids that maybe doesn't have that. So evaluating the child individually is really important, and making sure that you're helping them develop and focus on that. But again, the strictness of where you're going from media, from screen time. We do have a PlayStation as a household.
Sure.
We bring it out on birthday weekends. That's our tradition. It's an old PS2. We still buy a game or two, every now and then, but they're the old PS2 games.
But you guys are intentional with it.
We're intentional with it.
Even in your...
Right. It's not just they come in and they pull out the PS and start playing and check out from the world. We don't want that. In fact, we went to the point to where we were living in a suburb, North Edmond.
Yeah.
And we had about a half an acre lot in a subdivision, nice house, not great neighbors. Our neighbors were fantastic. But we wanted to make sure our kids were still utilizing their imagination. And in a neighborhood, it's somewhat limited because you've got space, you're only limited to what space there, right?
Not as much creativity.
Not as much creativity. So we thought, well, let's find some land. Let's move out on some land, and then they can be outside and use the outdoors for their creativity. And I will tell you, it's been the most beautiful thing for me. My kids have gone out and actually built kingdoms in our woods. And I mean literal kingdoms, not just the make-believes. They've dragged deadfall, and they've built walls.
Well, they've lived real life. Rather than on
that's it. They're
screen.
using their mind to create that environment, and so to me, that's another thing to try to encourage with your kids is, don't try to check out from life, but utilize life and utilize the realisms that are out there. There's plenty of ways to be creative, but then also the other key important part of that is you as the parent connecting into that. It's got to be that where you're connecting with those kids. It can't just be y'all go out and come back at mealtime. No,
go garden for it.
Right. But there's also something about like this last weekend. our first lawn mowing of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, have y'all mowed
We
yet?
did.
Okay.
And then all the dandelions came back.
Yeah, I know. But
My wife Ginger loves dandelions. So she's like, yes.
let's walk around and just blow on the dandelions. But so Ezra had started mowing about a year and a half ago for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We have both the zero turn and the little
Old
Cub
school.
Cadet. Yeah. And he was really wanting to try out the zero turn this year. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're 13 now. Let's get you on the zero turn. We'll put you down there. And Ellie was like, Dad, I want to mow the lawn. And Katie was like, I don't know. I'll defer to Dad.
I bet Nathan is mowing at her age.
I don't remember if he was at 9.
Because that's the other thing we do.
It was close,
That's
but
the
yes.
other thing we do.
Yeah.
We push our older kids sooner.
That's it. That's
and the
it.
younger ones get out of it.
I don't remember when he started, but Ellie, for me, it's kind of one of those, okay, she's my girl.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
But she really wanted
I'm not trying to be.
No, I know.
I just
No, I know.
how it is.
But she really wanted to try. And I'm like, you know what? Let's let you try. And I think those kind of things are, you as a parent have got to really gauge the individual child.
Yeah.
Because Ezra then was like, well, but you didn't let me start until just a year and a half ago. So it's that, okay, I get that. But, every child is individually designed. And you got to look at that heart. So that's kind of the intentionality that we've done. I think one other point is that as the kids have gotten older, one of the things that Katie and I have done is like, what are they going to move into as far as work and livelihood and that kind of thing? Nathan was one that he started at like 6, wanted to be a big animal vet, has always wanted to do that.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, that's good. And I'm, 7, 8 years ago, I'm going, I don't know how this is going to, how we're going to get there, but if it works, it works. When he was 15, I said, all right, you're getting to the point now where we've got to really start figuring out what the next step is, right? I said, let's get you a job at a vet clinic.
Sure.
Let's see you doing all of those grunt work jobs, all of the nasty stuff, the stuff that none of the doctors want to mess with. This is mucking, stalls, and there was some days that he came home with stuff on him that I don't even want to know what it was there. But every day I'm like, okay, if you can tell me that you still want to be a vet after doing all of the nasty stuff, I'll be your biggest cheerleader. We'll figure this out. We'll make it happen. And so every day I'd ask him, how are you doing? Did you, are you ready to quit or you want to keep going? Oh, Dad, I loved it. It was great. One day he came home and he had stuff all over his clothes. And he's like, yeah, we have this runoff tube that I had to clean out today. And we were like shoving stuff down through this thing and it was nasty, but I had a lot of fun doing it. Thinking, okay, so you could honestly tell me that. But it was intentional. Yeah. That way, now he knows what he's going into.
Yeah.
And then he can really focus on the educational side of it, right? Mike was different. He was like, I think I want to go into finance. I've always felt like he's sales, just his personality.
He's so confident.
He is. He's very confident. And he's always been that one that that's who he is.
Yeah.
And so we started talking to him about what next steps are. And then he, went and had a year of college and was like, I think I really want to be in the insurance and, brokerage business. Can I do that without a degree? And we're like, well, you can. It's, degrees are nice and they're good, but certainly you can do that. So his confidence moved him that way. But we had already started having conversations 3 and 4 years ago about kind of next steps. So he was already kind of moving that. Noah's different.
Let me hop in there.
Yeah.
Because I think there's another sideline here too, and that is that you're an insurance broker.
Right.
And I don't know how you came to that conclusion, but I know that has given you a lot of freedom.
Yep. As
a dad, as a husband, as a father, to be more involved in your kids' lives.
Yep.
Talk to us. I mean, we'll circle back to your intentionality with directing your kids, but talk to us for a second about the freedoms you've had with.
Yeah, and that's true. So there's freedoms and there's, as being self-employed, I've been
Give
this
and
is
take.
well, it's this is 24 years this year. So
Okay. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. You make it past the third year and you're like, okay, I made it, right? And so there are times where yes, there is lots of freedom available.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also times like on vacations, you're never fully on vacation, right?
Yeah.
And I think the first several years, that was the challenge, was helping my family understand that I am going to be able to take off an afternoon to do this with you because it can fit my schedule. But when we're on the road going on a trip of some sort, I may have to take a phone call.
Sure.
I may have to step away for a little bit. But what I also try to do is limit those, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I want to get on the road and have family time and then completely separate myself out there. So,
Well, the good thing about that is you can write those vacations off then, right?
that's right. Yeah, exactly. I have a conversation, then it's a tax write-off, right? Yeah, if you're a CPA, I'd love to have feedback on that. So,
But anyway, yeah. So the vacation's a give and take.
yes,
But like I know that you're also a teacher on Thursdays.
Yep.
And I know sometimes you're having to work while you're teaching at this co-op, homeschool co-op.
Yep.
But that's a freedom that most guys don't have because
Right.
they're working for somebody.
right. That 9 to 5 or 8 to 7, whatever the timeline is for most employees, you don't get that flexibility. And I want that flexibility.
Yeah.
I want to have that window of being able to engage with my family.
Yeah.
And being self-employed absolutely allows me that. Now, not everybody can be self-employed.
Sure.
It's not for everybody. And, it doesn't come without its costs, financially. And
Sure.
there's other things there.
But don't you think even like moving to the country like you guys did, I mean, that was a decision, a conscious decision you guys did. It had its cost.
Yep.
Not everyone can do it, but the benefits of it were huge.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what, I mean, I love entrepreneurship, but that's where I see the advantages is yes, you are maybe working at night once kids go to bed.
Yeah.
But you have freedom to be more engaged and not necessarily lose your job
Right.
as long as you can relay to your customers.
Yeah, and that's what it comes back to, and that's with my customers. What I've tried to teach Micah now that he's joined me in my
Sure.
practice is if you can develop the relationship with your customers to where they have that trust factor, that's really what it comes down to. And so that's what I do in my practice is it's not about selling products, it's about developing relationships. Just like I work on my relationships with my family, I do that with my business as well. And it's been successful because I'm still in business now 24 years. So,
Well, and that same line you can use with your family.
Absolutely.
Once you develop the trust with the
Right.
customer, once you develop the trust with the family,
that's right.
yes, dad's on vacation and he's checking emails and doing XYZ.
Yeah.
But you've developed that trust so they know
They know
they're
that
going to get you back.
they know that I'm not going to abuse that time. I'm not going to utilize that at their expense.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that I definitely want them to understand, and I feel like I've been able to manage that
Sure.
relatively well. I can't say I'm perfect in any stretch
Yeah,
or
well,
fashion. So
Don't beat yourself up. No one is. Hey, just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there, spread the message, share. And if you want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store in show notes as well. But it's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com. Check it out. Thank you guys so much, and have a great one.
Thank you for listening to Kill Complacency. Follow and share our podcast to change lives and inspire growth.